Okay. Hi, everyone. It's November the 9th, and I'm doing a sort of follow-up video on what I've recently talked about. And today I want to talk about the Wetiko and regaining our shamanic gifts related to part of the last video sort of saying, how should we be using our time, or what should be our focus now? I should start out by saying that I've been my body is feeling really poor again. The last few weeks I've been going through the stomach and the asthma type problems again, and so if you hear me straining to breathe and catch a breath during this, that's what's going on. It is actually hard to breathe again, and I don't know how things are going to go with this as the months go on. My plan had been to use part of the winter to write a new book. I was going to write it as a novel, which is a lot of work. I'm not a very good novel writer, or at least I have no experience with the novel writing process. But I felt it would be better to say it as a story rather than try to create another listen to me, I'm important book. I think we have enough of those out there. But we'll see how the body and the system responds to going forward into the winter. Yeah, I'm just letting you know it's that's where I'm at, and I've been for a little while here. It's not improving. So this video comes out of, like I say, this idea of how to use our time. And I think the best use of our time now is probably what we might call regaining our natural shamanic gifts. And well, what's a natural shamanic gift? And of course, if you I hate using the term shaman or shamanic. First of all, it's not a word I like, but there isn't really another word right now in the English language that sort of points in the direction that word now points to, but it points to so many wrong directions or um, incomplete directions. Like if someone said, "Oh, I'd like to regain my shamanic gifts," well, I'll go to the bookstore and I'll see there's 40 books with the word "how to be a shaman" on them, and I'm going to buy them. Every one of those books will be mostly a waste of your time. I read several of them years ago, 20 years ago, and I would get as much out of them now as I got out of them then, which is almost nothing. White people writing a few interesting comments for other white people to get them to buy their book is really all it is. I have read the book recently called, I've got my cat on my lap, so I can't grab the book. It's called Dispelling Wetiko. And unfortunately, it's another book that's rather average. I don't recommend anybody buying it. There's a couple of okay chapters, and the rest was just average. I bought it because it's trying to describe that which controls our reality, that parasitic force, and it just happens that the word Wetiko, which is a Native Indian word, it exists. A similar word or a similar idea exists in almost every Native American tribe, and I'm sure exists in other traditional cultures all over the world. But Wetiko itself is, I think, a Cree or a Algonquin word, and it describes not only a sort of virus or a demonic possession, you might say, a being that takes over human beings, takes over their mind, and then causes great destruction to people around them, and in a sense inserts a similar virus into them. It also is a word that can be used to describe the culture that comes from having people, particularly running it, who are taken over by this Wetiko parasite. So the word can mean an individual, the individual controlled by it, or it can mean the entire society and the um, systems that exist in it that all spawn out of it. Which, of course, our world is all spawned out of Wetiko. Our current Western world is all Wetiko. Now you have to be careful because the way the Cree, the way the Native Indian languages work, this is not. It's not really a noun. It's not describing a force, a thing, a parasite that is demonstrable from the standpoint of you can hold it, handle it, classify it. You can only classify it by the sort of like, okay, let's say gravity exists. I don't want to get into the discussion, but let's pretend that it does for this discussion. You could only test gravity based on the results of what it does. And the same as Wetiko. You know Wetiko is there based on the results of the people who are acting in ways that are not human, but through this Wetiko. So I'm bringing this up because, of course, so much of what is classified as natural shamanic gifts are things that can only be accessed without the Wetiko within us, that the Wetiko has to be dispelled from our being and dispelled from our surroundings. It's no good to, I mean, it's great to get it out of your own system, out of your own mind, of course, but if everyone else around you and everything you touch is is laden with it, then it's not really helping you as much as you might think. It's just you're surrounded by it constantly. So natural shamanic gifts are which I would classify as our gifts of power, or our deepest human abilities, you might say, things that we've most everyone is cut off from. It's one of the things I think that as a young child, when you read comic books, particularly comic books about superheroes, there was this sense that it's not like just a story, it's not a tale, it's a possibility. Somehow, Superman, Batman, Spider Man, Wonder Woman, you know, these are all real possibilities that there's these, we somehow sense that we have these really deep powers within us that, at least as a young child, still feel potentially accessible. We don't know what they are, we don't know how to get to them, but we feel that they're there. And it's only maybe until we hit our teens, our early part of our teens, 12, 13, 14 years old, that these beliefs and these really deep powers within us have been bashed out of us by parents, teachers, society, movies, television, the world. But when you think about movies and books even that are written for children, they're very magical, very fanciful. Um, there are no there are no rules, you might say. There's so much is possible. And then once you start hitting the young adult stage of movies and books, the magic goes away, right? The magic goes away. The magic is taken out of of the mindset. And so I think when I think when you see this presentation often of you must become as a little child again, it can mean many things, of course, but to me one of the main things it is this place of inner potential inner power is still accessible. It's still there. It's still possible. And the problem is just as we were when we were 5 or 6 years old, we don't know what it is and how to access it. And even if we get a sense there may be some powers out there, there may be some gifts, there may be somebody I know can do something, we start deciding we want what someone else wants, as opposed to recognizing that individual gifts are individual gifts and they will be unique to each person. There may be similarity between certain people, but there may not be. And the more one tries to chase someone else's gift means you are rejecting your own. And I think now, in this particular time, rather than, we talked about these manifestation exercises and creating things consciously as a group. I think even more so before we would ever get to anything like that, people have to regain some of their natural shaman abilities, their natural abilities to connect with the world, with nature, with deeper aspects of themselves, and again, not everybody's going to learn how to talk to a tree or talk to an animal or heal somebody or manifest something or change the weather or who knows what these are. But there's something. Each one of you has a natural gift that was given at birth. And the challenge is to first see that it's there, and then how do I locate it? Because that's the thing that's really missing. And I mean, what? There's, like I said, there's hundreds of books on this subject, like literally hundreds, giving some giving no detail whatsoever, just giving generalized ideas, some telling stories, some giving direct exercises to do, some and I'm not sure how much of any of it is actually of any value. That it's all just it's all just an overlay of junk. It's all just an overlay of game playing. Because part of the search for your shamanic gifts is an actual journey. It's an actual walk through the labyrinth of the self, the labyrinth of the Wetiko, the labyrinth of navigating the parasitic mind and the very demonic forces that exist in this realm to track down these inner powers. And these inner powers or these inner gifts may be things no one will ever know about. They're not things you're even meant to let anybody else know about, to say anything to anyone, even to show anyone. They're very private, personal things, or something that will come out once or twice in your life in key situations, and that's it. But if more people right now began making this a priority and bringing their, I don't want to call it their superhero gift, but you know, this is where we are. We're at the point of our experience where we need Superman to show up. We need Aquaman and Spider-Man to come and fix the mess. However, Superman or Spider-Man or Buddha or Jesus or Mom or your friend at the 7-Eleven, they're not coming. Right? They're not coming. The only one that would be coming would be each one of us. Each one of us, in a sense, has to become a small version of the superhero, a small version of Wonder Woman, a small version of Batman, a small version of Aquaman, a small version of the Wonder Twins, whatever. I can't remember half of these. There's 100 of them. Superheroes. We have to become our own. I guess, there's even like the Blues Brothers in the movie The Blues Brothers, they are superheroes. If you watch the movie from that perspective, that in a sense, the car is a superhero like cars, like the Batmobile, and it has this special hidden place and it can do flips and jump over things, and they themselves can magically get through things that should constantly be killing them. And when you start seeing them, in a sense that the movie is just as actually it's a musical and a superhero movie. The Blues Brothers are superheroes. And when you start to look closer and closer and closer, this idea of deeper innate powers that exist within us need to come out. Now, on a simple scale, right? I mean, when you talk about soldiers who've been in battle and in really difficult battle conditions, battle conditions when it pretty much didn't look like they were going to get out of there, often these shamanic gifts were in some ways triggered automatically. They didn't know they had them. There's so many stories of soldiers who were, caught in the open field and they knew they were going to die and they just in a sense, wish they could just be invisible for the moment, and then the company of soldiers just walks right past them, doesn't even know they're there. And the only reason they could think later of what happened is they did actually become invisible. That the the intent and the wish was so strong, it triggered some sort of invisibility, and the soldiers didn't see them. And so we have these, even if someone doesn't want to necessarily believe in the indigenous and the ancient wisdom and knowledge and what the Egyptians and the Mayans and the early Vedic culture or the Taoist masters or whatever could do, or in some cases can do, we still have multitude of these stories of individual people, the mother lifting the car off the kid when it's crushing his leg, or we have tons of these stories. Someone finding out the morning that the plane they're going to get on is going to crash, and they know right away not to get on it, or to tell their best friend don't take the plane, or whatever. We have hundreds of these stories of people accessing much deeper abilities than the average person believes exists. So that, I think, should be the way going forward now, is accessing these gifts. That if there's going to be any group exercise we should be doing, it should be individual work like this, maybe hopefully done by a lot of us, to try to access more and more and more of this inner wisdom, this inner. And it's not even inner wisdom here. I mean, we don't just need the wisdom right now. We need the abilities. We actually need the gifts. Whatever the gift is, we need people to find them and begin uh, uh, not presenting it to the world. That's not the right wording. Need to be accessing it in the world, using it in the world. Even if the world doesn't know you're using it anyway. So again, the question comes, well, how you're sitting there listening to this talk. Yeah, sounds good. So what? What do I do? Sounds good. I'm interested. What do I do? And that should be your question. It should be, because I mean, I remember, like I say, hundreds of books, lots of lectures, all sorts of stuff where people might say things like this, and then they just end the book or end the lecture and they just go away. Like, well, what was that? That was just useless. Or they do give you exercises, or they do give you recommendations, but the exercises and recommendations are useless. They're they're they have an idea, they have a good idea, but they have no practical knowledge of what to do about it, and they're making themselves feel good. Oh, I did in the last chapter of my book. Just read the chapter and do what it says. No, the last chapter of your book is garbage. I didn't do any of that. It's obvious garbage. It's crap. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so I don't want to get into the stage of I don't want to get into of just leaving this video for you and then saying good luck. Hope you figure something out. That's no good. That's useless. That'll just frustrate people who might say, "Yeah, I think this guy's right, but yeah, so what? What do I do about it?" And then the next stage is, well, okay, what can be found that we can actually do that has a high degree of success, high degree of possibility that there's some sort of success that we can tap into these, we'll call them gifts, that are innate to us, that are there, that are waiting for us to go get, you might say. We just have to go get them. We have to open a door that we've kept closed for a long time since we've been children. So obviously something involves accessing sort of a childlike mind, a childlike inquisitiveness, a childlike place of possibility, a childlike place of removing the boxes of the mind. We need to find things that help weaken this Wetiko virus, especially in ourself, but if possible in our environment, in our immediate environment, so that this parasitic force is not as much of an energetic drain on us as it has been to this point. And then three, it's producing things that will actually get us to these doorways and give us a real chance. So even though I'm ending this video here, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be presenting something in a week or two with some personal ideas on this. Um, things of getting in touch with it, because it's, yeah, I know a few exercise and things to do, but I could pass them out, but the gifts that those particular exercises lead to are nowhere close to your own gifts, so they won't work. It's also part of the problem. We have to sort of devise our own system. We have to devise our own exercise plan that fits the gift that we're going to be tracking, you might say. Bizarrely, we have to sense the thing we're going to track, so we know how to track it. I say, oh, just go track an animal in the woods. Well, no matter how good your tracking skills are, you're not going to know that I wanted you to track I wanted to track a deer, I wanted to track a moose, or I wanted you to track a gopher, I wanted to track whatever. But as soon as I tell you I want you to track this particular animal, and you can track, there's a much better chance that in a few hours I got one, found one over here. And that's what I think we need to do here. We need to get a directional arrow of, we have an idea, some kind of idea of the direction our gift might be in. There's no point trying to become more psychic and more being able to see in the future or read other people or share concepts with other people's minds if that's not our gift. Our gift might be something completely different. So we need to also try to get comfortable that what our gift is, that it might be unique, and that our superpower is ours. And then it's okay. Then it's, now what do we do to track towards those? So I'm going to try to piece together exercises or ideas or suggestions that can go in a few different directions, so that if anyone's interested in trying things, they can choose the one that moves in the direction they think they need to move in. If you've got some ideas, by all means, leave them in the comment section. We're here as a group to do what we can do. Do what we can do in Plato's cave as a group and individually, to go as far as we possibly can. But again, this sense is like, right now, here's where Superman needs to fly in, punch a whole lot of people in the nose, round them all up, get rid of a whole lot of everything that's been leading the Wetiko culture all over the world, and now we can start fresh. And like I say, Superman's not coming. Superman's not coming. That would be the great scenario, but Superman's not coming. So how do we tap in each ourselves, the Superman, Wonder Woman within, and add our small part to the whole through action, not through just this wishful thinking idea, just this, we're going to all sit together and meditate and consciously change the world. We need to do more than that. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that, obviously our thoughts are not going to have an impact on reality. But we've also got to find what we can do as an action, what we can do and I think it's not just acting, it's putting our gift into this realm. The more people's gifts start appearing in the realm, then the more doorways are going to start to open, or can open, because more and more doors are shutting, and we have to find ways to open different doors. We don't want to open the doors that have already been opened, before. It's fine. Our world was a Wetiko world, so fine. Start closing those doors. Let's open doors that take us out of Wetiko world. So not only do we get out of the situation, we don't have to go back into a similar insanity we just got out of. We can at least, if this reality is going to move, we move into something valuable. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to take a little bit of time now to really just go through various, I don't want to call them exercises. I'm going to call them like suggestions or ideas or directions to move and think and act, and see what I can present in about a week or 10 days that can try to start tracking us to our inner superhero within. Maybe that's just an interesting thing to do in the first place. Like if we had to draw, if we thought we were going to become a comic book, and we were going to become a superhero in a comic book, how would we look? Every superhero has a costume. What would our costume be? What would our for fun? What would our trait be in the comic book? What would be our thing? Our every superhero has their own thing. Right? What would our thing be? That doesn't mean it's going to be really our thing. It doesn't mean it's really anything close to what our real gift is, but at least it gets us thinking, gets us content. Who knows? Maybe by doing this exercise, you will be tapping into what your real gift is, and it won't be exactly what you did in this little exercise, but it will take you there. So I'm actually gonna do that. Maybe like Friday, Saturday. I'm gonna sit down and I'm not the greatest at drawing, but I'll draw myself as if I was going to be in a superhero comic book. Okay, if there's a comic book about me, what would my costume be? What would my what do you call it? My what's the superpower? Just out of my own curiosity, I've never done it before, and let's just see if that leads us anywhere. And then I'm going to get back to you on this topic in about 7 to 10 days and um, discuss what we might do. I want to do another one next week because now this talk about the past and the future has really got me thinking strongly. And I had said, we don't want to spend too much time studying history now. We need to focus on other things, which is probably true. But I think it shouldn't mean that we stop the study of history either, because so much is happening, so much is changing, so much seems to be available, so many doors in that area seem to be opening up at the same time that we also, I think, um, need to be paying attention to it to see, are we uncovering the past, or are we manufacturing the past by putting our focus into certain areas? And if so, maybe we should only focus on specific study of history because we want to, if we're going to study it and potentially transforming it, what is it we want to change and transform? So I'm also going to come up with a video on that in a few days. But that's where we are. Let's see where this all takes us. And if you have an idea, let me know. I'll be curious to see how we can get in touch with our inner shamanic gift and start sharing it with even just our small inner circle of people. See you soon, everybody.